Welcome everybody to Public Records Earth Day celebration in collaboration with DJs for Climate Action's annual 7th annual Earth Night Global Event Series and our other incredible partners, including Nocturnal Medicine, The Collective Bay, Pollen Plant Shop, Parties for Peace, and Ableton. We're going to start our programming in here today. That meditation was really deep moment for us all to come together into this space and this day together. So thank you so much. And we're going to move into a panel called Finding Our Climate Muse, which includes Michelle. If you could join us on the stage, our panelists. Also Andreas from Pollen Plant Shop, Emily from Parties for Peace, and Dreamy from The Collective Bay. Is this one on now? Yes. Okay, cool. My name's Eli. I am one of the organizers at DJs for Climate Action. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Yeah, I mean, let's get the energy up now, right? That was like grounding. Let's go up into the sky a little bit, up into the trees. So a lot of our work with DJs for Climate Action is about inspiring and educating the nightlife community to take action around climate change, climate justice, environmental justice, sustainability. And so every year we organize these Earth Night events. Started out just in New York City in 2018, was it? No, 2018. It's now grown to include over 30 events around the world in like 15 countries, more maybe this year. And Earth Night events are about encouraging and creating sustainability in the spaces where we come together and party. What does that mean? That means no single-use plastics. It means focusing on local and diverse lineups of artists. It means plant-based food when there's food served. It means renewable energy when we can use it. And, you know, Public Records really embodies so much of this work. This has been built into their ethos since the beginning. And so it's super aligned, and we love being here. This is our second time doing an event for Earth Night at Public Records, and we're super grateful to be here in this incredible space that was so intentionally created, both as a place for creative and experimental music and gatherings, but also as a place where all the food is plant-based and there are no single-use plastics, and they're doing their work in the community like a trash cleanup organized by Andreas and his organization Parlay before this event. So yeah, thanks so much for Public Records for hosting us here, and also thank you to the Lot Radio that's live streaming the meditation and the panel and the upcoming live performance by Atropolis after the panel. You know, all of this to bring us together to think and feel about what's happening with the climate, with our planet, and connect deeper with nature, with each other, with ourselves around this work. And that's what this panel is kind of all about, is sharing stories from some really incredible individuals who are deep in this work. It's called Finding Our Climate Muse because it's about finding what inspires us to do this work, right? finding what inspires us to take climate action, whether that's technical or fundraising or working in the community or technology or innovation or music or art or creativity or whatever it is that all of us are doing to try to support this essential action of reducing our emissions, of supporting nature and our ecosystems, of supporting each other, and especially learning how to connect with and uplift the communities on the front lines. When we talk about climate justice, we mean that often the people who have contributed the least to the carbon dioxide and other emissions and chemicals in the atmosphere are the ones who are feeling the effects of climate change the most already, you know? Even here in New York, communities that are already living next to power plants and factories and highways with trucks driving through and cars spewing pollution into their lungs are the ones who feel the effects of a wildfire in Canada that blows into New York much more deeply when the children's asthma rates are significantly higher than in the rest of New York City, the Bronx. So this is the work, right? This is the work, is inspiring our communities and connecting and supporting all those people on the front lines who quicker and quicker is becoming obvious is all of us, right? Is all of us as those wildfires roll in, as New York City floods. We're going to be feeling this more and more every day. So how do we interact with that? That's the question. And that's why I'm so honored to have these four incredible people who are doing this work in different ways. It's all about, you know, sharing the stories and trying to meet each of you and everybody who's viewing and connecting where they are, and hopefully creating a spark that gets you into the work. Whether that's on the side, in whatever way inspires you, or whether that's bringing it into your life in more and more ways, as I think kind of happens once you start on the journey. So yeah, it's about finding our muse together. So I'm going to turn this over to these incredible panelists now. And I'm going to start with, just a quick introduction, who you are, what's your organization do, and what brought you to this work. We'll start over here with Dreamy.
Hello. Y'all hear me out there? I am Dreamy. So honored to be here, especially among you and each of you. I represent the Collective Bay. We are, maybe as long as Earth Night's been happening now, 7+ years, an organization based here in Brooklyn that uplifts feminine and femme-identifying and Black, Indigenous, people of color artists who work at the intersection of healing and nightlife. So that means I am a DJ, a music producer, a creative, and I'm also a well-being advocate, a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher, and somebody who works at the intersection of consciousness and creativity. And I'm so excited we're in a place collectively where we can be having these conversations in the club, because that was the goal all along. Thank you for having me.
All right, Dreamy. My name is Emily McGlone. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. Some of us were together yesterday at the Lot Radio, so thank you, Lot Radio, for streaming today. I am the director of an international nonprofit organization called Peaceboat US, which travels the world by ship using our boat as a venue for conversations around sustainability and peace building and climate action. Our organization was started in 1983, so we celebrated our 40th anniversary this past year, and we've been traveling to more than 100 countries every 3 months. We are visiting around 20 ports as we travel around the world, connecting with coastal communities and making positive impact through mangrove reforestation, coral reef education, and activities that really connect people with nature. At the same time, I'm also the founder of another nonprofit organization called Parties for Peace. So I'm really excited to be here again at Public Records, and thank you so much for hosting us, because these kind of venues do really help foster collaboration and connection between the music and art world. So Parties for Peace invites artists to donate their time and talent to make a positive change through collecting ticket fees or donations at the door. And all the funding from our events go towards climate action and sustainable development programs. So I'm really excited also to have collaborated with many people here today and to continue this conversation for Earth Day. So thank you very much for having us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andreas. I'm part of the Pollen Collective. Pollen started as an experiment, actually, by my wife, who's back there with my son, as an experiment of how a plant store can be run more sustainable. So Steph was working in the plant industry for many years and just witnessed that there's a lot of things that you can improve from an environmental perspective. Just the plastic consumption alone by the plant industry is nuts. I think it's around like 500 million pounds per year in the US alone that are produced just for nursery pots. And it's actually something that could be eliminated if we all wanted that. That's a long way to go, but you can start somewhere, right? So when we started this experiment, the idea was that we would sell every plant in a biodegradable pot. What we're doing, unfortunately, the plants we get are still shipped to us in plastic pots. But at least we have an opportunity to talk to people and educate them on the process, and also for them to demand change, and also bring this idea to other plant stores, because we don't want to be the exclusive ones for this. You know, we encourage other plant stores in New York and also in other cities like Chicago to follow, this example, and we're happy to share information. And then the other thing we do is we're running completely off solar. We're a seasonal business, so we're running in the summer, so when the sun is out. And then it's also an experiment, as a social experiment. Pollen Collective is a little bit more than only a store. It's also a garden. It's a space where people come together and cross-pollinate. My wife and I, we also have a background in DJing, so that helps to get people together under the stars, not a roof. I also see a lot of pollen bees, as we like to call them here. So it was really about starting kind of a space where people come together. I think it's important that you build kind of like the love for yourself and self-care. Then you learn how to take care of something like a plant, right? Then you want to nourish like a community, and kind of like these steps. It's kind of the process we're in. We don't know where this is going to lead to, but you have to start somewhere. So that's kind of like the muse that we found.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Chauffet, and I'm co-founder of Nocturnal Medicine, together with my brilliant co-founder, Larissa, right here. We're a nonprofit design studio that's focused on climate consciousness and cultural transformation. And the way that we do this is mainly through events, live in-person events and gatherings. We invent new forms of gatherings that bring people together and help us reconnect with the planet, with the natural world, and help us address the environmental challenges of today. So we have created sanctuaries for ecological grief and raves for public healing and chapels for extinction, and various projects that bring together these ways that as people we are used to coming together, to mourn, to celebrate, to be together, and sort of pairing those with various aspects of the planetary health crisis. So that's what we do.
Thank you, everybody. Something that I think almost all of you brought up was this idea of community, right? And creating these spaces for deeper connection with each other and with the planet. You know, how do we something I've been thinking a lot about, right, is we're doing this work and often we're in spaces where we're with people who are already also doing the work, right? How do we use this? How do we grow the community? You know, how are you all growing the communities and thinking about ways to bring in new people, right? And bring in people for the first time to learn and connect with the climate crisis, with nature. I'm going to put that open to whoever wants to start.
I think there are different ways. I can tell from our perspective, what helps is that while we are, really focused on eco-innovation and sustainability, we also try to be the best plant store in New York, right? I think it helps. We have a product, we have something we can give to someone, and through that interaction, have a touch point, right? Many people that come to the store, they just want to buy a nice plant, they're looking for a gift. We also sell pots. And then they come in and they see like, oh, what is this weird pot? Like, why is it not in plastic, right? And that's the moment we can have that conversation. Then we tell them like, sign up for a newsletter, keep in touch, we're doing events here on the weekend, come visit us again. And that's how we have an opportunity through a product, right? To have this conversation with people that are not necessarily aware and not already, signed up. I also work for a bigger nonprofit organization, and obviously we're facing the same issue there, that, like people that are signed up for Parley or for Greenpeace, not necessarily people you need to reach. So in that case also it helps that we're doing products to get a broader reach. The other way obviously is doing this and being streamed here. But, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like Andy said as well, reaching out to people and having that touch point is really important. So community events like this, organizing activities where people come together and have these conversations. And then for us also at Peace Boat, for example, travel is sometimes seen also as something that's, an extra, right? It's something that if you have funds, you're able to travel and able to create these experiences. So we've also created a scholarship program for young leaders ages 18 to 30. It's called the Youth for SDGs. SDGs stands for the Sustainable Development Goals, and these are 17 goals by the United Nations to help create a more sustainable world. And so through this scholarship fund, we've been able to help bring young people, especially from minority backgrounds or other youth who might not have the funds to be able to travel and have these experiences, to come on the Peace Boat, to have conversations, and to travel and meet people in other places that might have similar experiences or solutions. And we really think that having those exchanges really does bring common goals together and help bridge different communities. And that's really been thanks to the DJs from Parties for Peace. We have Chris Nee here, who's in the audience in the back. We did a DJ tour to Patagonia this year. Parties for Peace has been organizing this tour for 15 years, where we bring artists and producers, woohoo, Patagonica, yeah, down to Chile in South America. And this is our way of getting DJs involved in climate action by taking them, experiencing the glaciers and the mountains and the beautiful, pristine nature in Patagonia, and then asking them, of course, to donate their time and talent. So all the funds throughout the DJ tour, even though we're traveling and doing something fun and exciting, all the funds go towards the youth scholarship. And then that scholarship goes to young people who are in the field doing the work and bringing them in. So for us, it's been something kind of fun and creative to find ways to, bring people together through travel and experiences.
Anybody else? You want to?
Yeah, I could speak to that from a different lens, which is that a lot of our work deals with the emotional and psychological challenges of climate crisis. So, as I'm sure all of you know, when you're engaged with what's happening on this planet, you often experience a great deal of doom and grief and hopelessness and anger and all of these very, very intense emotions. And we don't live in a society where we're given tools or spaces or resources or practices for confronting these challenges. So for many of us, we wind up feeling stuck. We're stuck in our feelings, we feel paralyzed, we feel hopeless and doomed. And the work that we do is about trying to get people out of that state of paralysis by opening up new ways for them to engage with these emotions and go to the uncomfortable, painful places while being held in a very, very pleasurable collective environment. So you're kind of seducing people, holding their hands and guiding them to a place that they don't really want to go, but they need to go. Only way out is through, you know? And from there, seeing what's possible, because when you're stuck in the place of inaction and fear and doom, then nothing is possible from there. So helping people move out of that state.
I just want to uplift that work and each of you, because there's such a beautiful common thread that to me is like the most inspiring, which is that we are doing this work to gather others. And that's the MO, that we can't do anything alone. And so, Eli, when you ask about community in climate work, it's like such a gift to see how they go hand in hand. And that our main work is to infuse each other with hope for the work ahead. And so today feels like just such an embodiment of that. I haven't worked with any of these organizations. We've all been around and in tandem and kind of like, you know, orbiting each other in the field, either if it's in music and event production or if it's in the climate work, and we haven't collaborated. So for this to be a point, a touch point, and a convergence, to me signals that we are in a new era of community building that is both hyper-local, is connected to the communities we're making here, and is an embodiment and an embrace of the global, the collective consciousness. And it's just an affirmation that we can't do anything alone, that to actually make an impact in this new generation, we're gonna have to be alongside each other like this.
Yes. Amen to that. I'm going to actually borrow something that Dreamy actually told me, which is that a lot of this work is nourishing the web that interconnects us. So that's the community between each other, and that's how nature works, right? There's this web of mycelia and microbacteria in the soil that nourishes everything, all the plants and all the food that we eat. And without that web, nothing grows. So we need to be nourishing that web, and that's what's such a central piece of this work, and great to hear how everybody here is doing that. And you know, also this idea that the climate crisis feels so abstract and daunting and huge and confusing. It's so hard to understand because we're thinking about it so much, and really to grow into it and learn and understand and feel it, we need to feel it. We need to feel and not think, because it's just too big for us to really think about. I mean, even like I recently just got my master's degree in climate science and policy. I learned all the science of it, but still feels really abstract, right? And technical, you know? That's not what's going to save us, or not the only thing, right? We need all the solutions, we need the science and the technology, but without feeling what's happening to each other, to the community, to ourselves, to the nature around us, we're not going to have that spark and that inspiration to push forward on the scale that we need to. So yeah, I'm curious how you all feel into this. Michelle touched on this with that work being, you know, helping people feel the grief. How do you all deal with that? I've been hitting my head against the wall a lot lately, you know, been doing a lot of work over the past year of trying to, you know, green the music industry, electronic music industry, a lot of virtual meetings with people around the world. There's so many people doing inspiring work, but often it's just talking to the same people over and over again, right? Unless the music industry and nightlife industry, you know, or until there's like a tipping point, enough people are on board, it often just feels like just up against a very daunting and difficult, you know, pushback from the industry. So how do you all deal with that? How do you keep going and stay motivated in the face of this systemic resistance?
This is why I think music is so powerful. And this is why I became a DJ, because it is quite literally, we know this, a technology for feeling. So you have two things. We have the music industry, and then there's music. And you're all primarily here, with a little bit of both. But if we just talk about music, which is the first part of your question, how do we deal with the grief and the doom and the trauma of being in a collapsing, dissolving society, institutions crumbling, and deep planetary crisis? We dance. We put on the sound that calms us. We rest. We pray. We meditate. We use the music to process the emotion. So that's one thing, the technology for healing through music, and that's why we all listen and play it. And then there's the industry, whose MO is not necessarily to help us heal, right? It's an industry. It's a capitalist structure. Without judgment, right? That's what it is. So when they meet each other, I feel it becomes that much more important to be doing this work at the intersection of being a business and being an intentional project, right, or mission. And not everybody is doing that work. So to be coalescing around that and to start a new paradigm and revolution in the industry that uplifts what music was here to do, which is to help us process, help us grieve, help us heal, and help us be energized, embodied, fortified, strong, active, hopeful for the work that has to require our hands in the soil in a real way.
Love that. Yeah. And I think also making sure, taking care of yourself, like you said, first, kind of getting into meditation or listening to great music and relaxing or dancing. Sometimes, you put on some great music, you just dance even at your house, getting the body moving, feeling the music is so important, right, in healing. And I think staying motivated also depends a lot on the people around you. Surround yourself with good people because it really makes a difference. I think for me, community is huge. Having your friends working together, doing things together, collaborating on things like this today or just any kind of project. Look for that community wherever you are. I think that always keeps me at least motivated by having friends, someone by your side, like kind of keeping together in the race for climate action, which is every day, right, doing something. And then also, I think helping to connect different stakeholders, whether it be business, the industry, the music community. We work also a lot with the United Nations at Peace Boat. That's been really interesting for me because here in New York City, we have the UN headquarters, which is, hundreds of countries coming together to help make global decisions, which is really important. And so being a part of that community as well has been really interesting and kept me motivated to see things on a global scale. Some of our partners that we've been working with, I know also Parley and Oceanic Global, other ocean and climate partners, have also been helping to break down those silos. And I wanted to mention that Public Records has also reached the blue standard with Oceanic Global. So really excited to see even those partnerships growing. The blue standard means that here you'll find no plastic. As Eli was mentioning, they have a plant-based diet, so amazing vegan cuisine. Everything is really intentional, and that gives me hope. That keeps me motivated. Watching a beautiful venue like this come to life over the past 5 years has been incredible, and so I think, just surround yourself with good community, get involved, and just take small actions every day that can help give you hope and those around you as well.
Yeah, I think those, what you just mentioned, like the small actions sometimes can be the most powerful in terms of the reward you're getting immediately. So, while I work in this field every day, I sit in an office and look at a computer and write emails, answer phone calls. But, for example, just the cleanup today, I made the extra effort. This morning I woke up. I didn't really want to go. I partied till 3 a.m. last night. I'm like, it's the cleanup day. Yeah, okay, let's do it. Once I was here, I slowly woke up, but then just seeing people coming in, and it was just this beautiful moment where this this lady came and made the cleanup her birthday party. So she invited all her friends for her birthday to join the cleanup, and we had an impromptu birthday celebration with a cake, and everybody was singing happy birthday for her, 30 people, and it was just really sweet, and I think, that cheers you up, stuff like that.
I was thinking, as you were speaking, Eli, about you were speaking about your work and helping people in the industry with like these technical solutions of being more sustainable, more green, and you know, to the point that you guys were making as well about music and art, climate change is also a cultural issue. It's not just it's not just the technical solutions that are going to save us, but we need as a culture to transform in a very deep way if these solutions, if these all of these alternatives that we have are going to take in our culture without first changing our cultural relationship to the natural world and understanding in a really fundamental way that we are of it, then I don't think any of the technical solutions are really going to take hold. So I think all of the work that we're talking about here, it's cultural work. And I think that that's where artists and DJs and creative people come in, because we're storytellers and we help people feel things and we help people get out of the intellectual. As you said, we know the facts. The facts have been there, but it's not changing anything because we haven't, as a culture, yet really come to grasp what it is that we're facing.
Yes, so important, so important. And I think, like, you know, electronic music being born as a subversive movement of marginalized people, dance music being born as a subversive movement of marginalized people, with disco here in New York, with the Stonewall Rebellion, and creating these spaces where it was safe for gay, black, and brown, mostly men, to come together initially, like in a time when it was not safe. And then spreading to marginalized communities in Chicago and Detroit and all over the US initially, and then becoming this global rave movement in the 90s, which was really a movement of rebellion and just partying in a field and saying, fuck it. We're just going to set up a sound system and go dance because the system does not get us. Mm-hmm. You know, it's become this huge industry, but it still has this deep cultural power that it was built on, that, you know, we as participants in nightlife have a duty and also this ability to tap into and bring that out into everything we do with the events and our connections with people. Not just consuming, but being a part of a community. I think that's so important. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was amazing hearing what you all, how you're all dealing with all these things, and super inspiring. I think we should maybe open up the floor to some questions if people have questions before we move on to the live music and DJs. But I think it's always great to create more of a dialogue conversation here. So if there's anybody who has any pressing questions or ideas, please let us know.
So, DJ setups. DJ setups require lots of equipment. Have you started to think about how to make portable, sustainable DJ setups just to help, you know, with the materials?
That's a great question. DJ setups are the sound systems, right? There's often, when you're talking about festivals or outdoor things, there's big diesel generators that are powering the systems. There's also the music, whether that's digital music or records, which are still a huge part of the culture and actually continuing to be purchased and pressed more and more in this time. It's growing quickly, the vinyl industry. All have massive impacts. So, you know, one thing is the energy, right? So there's a big movement now, or there's a few companies that are creating batteries, scalable batteries, to replace diesel generators, which are way more efficient and flexible. So the technology is there now. It's just the industry is very slow to take it up because there's, you know, I think just a reliance and also just so much more money in these huge diesel generator supplier companies, right? So disrupting that is what needs to happen. When it comes to the gear, Pioneer makes almost all the like kind of standard DJ equipment. I think it's important that we put some pressure on them. They're not doing a lot of work to address these issues. With vinyl, there's also technology, or there's a lot of innovation happening in bioplastics. So pressing vinyl instead of from PVC plastic, which is what they press it from now, plastic made from plants. So has much less environmental damage that it causes, and also uses less or no fossil fuels to create the plastic. So that's also happening, and that's another thing, like how fast can we disrupt the industry? And you know, like the good thing about vinyl is like the turntables, the Technics 1200s turntables that are used, you can still buy an old one that works even better than the new ones. So right, like that's something that they still work. Like it's an amazing thing. So that's one positive about vinyl, even though it's this plastic that's getting thrown into the ocean. And then, you know, also just like with clothes, like buying vintage and old used vinyl is a great way to also address it if you want to be buying records. Does that answer the question? Does anybody else have anything on that? Yes.
Thank you for this. It was really beautiful to hear all of your stories and what you're working on and how you're looking at things. Something I'm curious on, I was just having a conversation while we were picking up some trash of like, something that's been in my heart has been to go to see like the great patch of plastic in the ocean. And a reason for that would be, because I think it would really trigger a deep change in me and really enforce deeper action. And I'd be curious to hear from you all, what are some things that you bear witness to that caused change, that was a catalyst for you to really take it more seriously?
Yeah, if I can answer it. So first, while there are, you know, the 5 gyres in the ocean, it's not necessarily something you can witness with your eyes. So it's not, if you think about these islands of plastic or trash, unfortunately, it's even worse. They're broken down. So plastic already broke down in so many microparticles that you don't really see it. I mean, sometimes you see surfaces, but of the trash, but it's not. So we have to let go from this idea that there are like those islands there, which actually would be great because then you could just collect it from there. Unfortunately, it's not the case. It's much more difficult. But the reason I started to work with Parley was actually because of a situation where I was diving in Bali together with Steph, and we were in the most pristine, beautiful coral reef, and you know, out of the picture book, the turtle, the seahorse. And within 20 minutes, the current changed, and we were swimming in a dumpster of trash, in a dumpster. I still have goosebumps talking about it, and it made a huge impact on me, huge impact on Steph, and yeah, my life changed after that experience. So I think going out there, witnessing what's happening, you know, I had an abstract idea of like, yeah, there's that stuff going on, but if you don't feel it, I think a lot of people doing the work, they had this realization, this moment, and yeah, I mean, yeah, just go travel to Bali and go diving. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you can go to any ocean or any beach, can go to the Rockaways too, you know, and you'll find plastic. If it's not big plastic pieces, it's smaller particles, microplastics. They're everywhere.
Someone told me the other day that the average human consumes a credit card worth of microplastic a week. And that for me, like, I mean, like, we're consuming like a credit card worth of microplastic a week. You heard me, like, and understanding those facts, I think really just kind of jolts you into a perspective that Michelle, you brought earlier, which is that we are nature. So that if I have that fundamental understanding that I am the earth, not I'm living on the earth, or the earth is my home, I am an extension of the planet, then I don't need to go to Bali to understand the crisis. Then I understand my sickness as a mirror of her, the planet's sickness, or that the planet's sickness is a mirror of my sickness. And that kind of intimacy with the crisis as not just something out there, but as something in here that I am interwoven with, that is irrevocable, that is undeniable, I feel like is such a powerful motivation for action. Because then I'm not moved by something out here, right, that somebody needs to convince me of. Then the real relationship is in here. And if I am tending this body, this vessel, this planet, and all its orbit of cells and blood and bones and breath, as well as I am tending the ecosystem around me. So this like ecosystem consciousness being, I think, gonna be the greatest and most sustainable inspiration for us for the years ahead. Because I think it gets to a point with this overwhelm that each of us were touching on, that like the planetary crisis is enormous and we are not going to clean all the oceans in our lifetime. And that kind of like acceptance can also be the fuel for an action, because then I can see what am I able to do and to be devoted to that. So for me, it helps me negotiate and mitigate the overwhelm that can be very paralyzing by understanding that if I contend this and all the relationships in my ecosystem, this hyper-local action, then that will ripple. And it's a sacred balance of the hyper-local, like we were talking about in the global. So this is not easy. It's very easy to put into words, and it is a lifelong healing, I think, and reframing and cultural restoration that is happening in every action that we take. But it's very micro and it's very macro. And we have to be able to shift in and out of those lenses if we're going to do this work for the rest of our lives. That's what we want.
I love that so much, Dreamy. I love this idea of the mirror, your body and the planetary body being mirrors of each other. I think similarly to what you're saying, for me, the signs are all around us. In December, I was walking in Prospect Park and there were 2 cherry blossoms in full bloom. And a few years ago in the spring, I kept finding these baby birds dead on the sidewalk. And I read about how all of the different creatures whose cycles are kicked off by the spring are missing each other because of the false starts and stops. It gets warm, it gets cold, everybody's confused. And we're seeing the way this reverberates throughout our micro and macro ecosystem right here, you know, right where we're living. And those are the kinds of things that kind of make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And yeah, to this point about the mirror again, like you can't help but see it reflected back in you. So yeah, that's where I find the inspiration.
That's great. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for your questions. I think it's all the time we have for this conversation, but it was really incredible, and we covered so much. And I thank you all so much for joining us, and all of you for being here to participate. Up next, well, let's give a round of applause to all our panelists. First and foremost, yes. Thank you all. Thank you all. I think there's actually, once we're done in here, there's tables set up by Nocturnal Medicine and Parties for Peace and Pollen Plant Shop. So if you have more questions, you can connect with them more deeply. Out there's also going to be an Ableton, or there is an Ableton station set up. Ableton Live, the production software has come by with their new Push 3 controllers, and they're loaded up with nature sounds, so you can actually create some music and sound using Ableton's Push controllers. So that's also going to be a really interesting way to connect with nature as well in this urban setting. And now I'd like to welcome Atropolis to the stage. He's going to be performing a live electronic piece that centers nature as well. And are you going to tell us a little more about that, Adam? Yes. Great. Oh yeah, and after Atropolis, there's going to be DJs in the atrium. So yeah, keep it going until 10 p.m. This one's open.
For tens of thousands of years, Native
Hello. Check, check. All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. It's so bright up here. I can't really see anybody, but my name is Atropolis. Thank you for joining us and supporting this beautiful evening. Thank you, Eli, and everyone involved, bringing their wisdom, bringing their unique perspectives of what we can do together as a collective to bring change. And just to share a little bit about what I'm about to share with you, I moved from the city about 4 years ago to Woodstock, New York with my wife, Ann, who's sitting right over there. Thanks to her, she broke me out of the rat race. I had a hard time letting go of my urban tendencies, not realizing how much I needed to return to nature. And I've been making music my whole life. And a lot of what has been said on the micro level of what we're doing with our soul, how we're treating our bodies, I think is a deep reflection of where we are and what we're seeing on our planet. And I believe that is one of the biggest things we can do on an individual level, is really know how to take care of ourselves. So I started journeying into nature and recording nature. I'm an Ableton certified instructor, and I've known how to take any sound in the world and turn it into, for example, what I'm going to start this evening off with. I was walking on a pond with a field recorder during the winter time to get the ice cracking. And I captured that sound, and I took that sound and made this really beautiful synthesizer. All the instruments that you're going to be hearing, all the sounds that you're going to be hearing, whether it's a drum, this entire drum kit is made from field recordings in Antarctica that were gathered in Antarctica. The other sounds that are more synth sounds, like, it's hard to hear it. The way I want to describe it to you, it's like tomato sauce. Okay, so the field recording is the tomato. The sounds you're hearing is like the tomato sauce. You gotta smash the tomato, you gotta put it on some heat, you gotta put some olive oil in it, you gotta put some spices in it, and all of a sudden you have something that looks not quite like a tomato. And as I started journeying deeper into nature, I found the most I've been searching for sound, and as an instructor who has been teaching and guiding artists for over a decade, I see this urgency to find something, this lack of satisfaction. And I speak of this because I know it, and all of a sudden, I'm more happy, more grateful, more satisfied with the sounds that I'm creating, realizing all I needed to do was go out into my backyard and record a stream, record the birds, record some owls. And now all the music I'm making is entirely derived from nature field recordings. So before I begin, the last thing I want to share is all the instruments that I've created from field recordings, whether it's from ice cracking, Genko penguins in Antarctica, the wind of Antarctica, the Arctic Sea. Madam Gandhi and I is an artist who actually came. So one of the things I do is I take artists, what I like to do is I bring artists into the wilderness to have this experience. And I took Madam Gandhi, who is an incredible artist. Hopefully she's checking this out at some point. We just released a pack on Splice 2 days ago, which is entirely from the sounds of Antarctica. So a lot of the sounds you're going to hear today is from that process. And all the instruments that I create are also tuned to the frequency of 432 hertz. Some of you might already be familiar with that, but just to speak a little bit about the sacredness of the frequencies that I've tuned my instruments to, it's in relationship to the Fibonacci series. So whether it's Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, the Mona Lisa, the stock market, it's all the distance of our planets in the solar system, the structure of a seashell, the structure of a flower, the shape of a tree is all related to the Fibonacci series, the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio. And that's why I chose to tune all of my instruments as its relationship, as my homage to nature. So my goal, one of my goals here in this process is to demonstrate the beauty and the abundance of what is just available, because it's the most profound sound design I've ever experienced. So I hope you guys, I'm going to kick it off with a kind of a sound bath. You're welcome to close your eyes. The only thing that is not directly derived from nature is I will be playing some really powerful speakings and conversations from Native Americans. And I'm, these are people that have such a unity. This is something that we all once as human beings had a right to. And I did not realize nature it is my home. It is our home. You forget about that in the city. I forgot about that living here. And the more I go deeper into the nature, the more I realize, like, wow, this is what my nervous system needed. However, coming and being conditioned in New York City, we kind of lose that lineage. And I find that you tap into the wisdom of Native Americans who are still carrying this through. It's quite inspiring. So thank you for listening. Thank you for everyone that is, put this event together. And I'm going to start this evening or afternoon off. George, feel free to cut this microphone. I'm going to place it on the floor.
I don't care what preacher, I don't care what medicine man, shaman, we're humans. And the best teacher to wake you up is Mother Earth. The best teacher is the water, the trees, the wind. It's as simple as going to a river, an ocean, and putting your hands in there. It's as simple as that. And then those who are in a forest like this is actually touching a mother tree. And what happens inside you, it triggers. It triggers the spiritual awakening that has been covered, has been fought to be taken out of you. Because once you turn up the volume, and from what colonization has done, then you hear, and you hear the spirits. Don't forget that, because it was everywhere, not just here among Native people. It was everywhere.
thousands of years, native people of this land constructed beautiful gardens all around them. Contrary to the myth of the primitive Indian, we were not passive observers of nature, nor were we wandering bands of nomads looking for a berry to eat or a deer to hunt. No. By and large, we were active agents in shaping the land to produce prolific abundance. We expanded and designed grasslands and forests for the benefit of all life. And in many places, we still do these things. We became what the world calls a keystone species, or a species upon which entire ecosystems depend. And our cultures became keystone cultures, refined over time. Much was made last year about the positive environmental effect of the pandemic. As more people stayed home, pollution levels dropped, animals began to reclaim habitat, and the logical leap that many observers seemed to make was that the Earth would be better off without humans. I reject that leap. The Earth may be better off without certain systems we have created, but we are not those systems. We don't have to be, at least. What if I told you that the Earth needs us? What if I told you that we belong here? We punish the land the way we punish people. We punish people the way we punish the land. And we do this because we are alienated from our humanity and the natural world. They call this species loneliness, our inability to connect with nature. In prisons, we call that solitary confinement. Decenter humans. Create non-human centric systems. Why hoard for your own species when you can live to serve all life around you? For example, coastal nations of British Columbia enhance fish habitat by planting kelp forests where the herring lay their eggs. This helps that small silverfish lay even more eggs, rebound in even greater numbers, and both the eggs and the hatched herring fish cascade up the food chain, nourishing so many other life forms such as bear, salmon, orca, eagles, wolves, and more. Ironically, by seeding this food web and feeding all life around them, coastal nations have greater food security for themselves because they feed the hand that feeds them.
Nature transcends our tendencies to label and classify, to reduce and limit. The natural world is unfathomably more rich, interwoven, and complicated than we're taught, and so much more mysterious and beautiful. Deepening our connection to nature will serve our spirit, and what serves our spirit invariably serves our artistic output. Nature transcends our tendencies to label and classify, to reduce and limit. The natural world is unfathomably more rich, interwoven, and complicated than we're taught, and so much more mysterious and beautiful. Deepening our connection to nature will serve our spirit, and what serves our spirit invariably serves our artistic output.
Hojong is the joy of being a part of the beauty of all creation. When we understand that humanity is an expression of the earth's beauty, we understand that we too belong Honjon understands that we have an ecological role. Honjon understands that our Mother Earth needs us. When we become her friend, her confidant, her ally, her partner in life, instead of her dominator, her superior, or her profiteer, we can transform dead systems to living ones. And this does not involve isolating national parks and never touching a blade of grass. No, it involves rolling up our sleeves, living within her processes, becoming a part of the Earth's system as we were born to be, and using these minds to protect and augment life on a holistic, regional scale. If our ancestors around the world proved this is possible, then it gives us hope that we can do it again.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to start off mentioning, for those of you who may be into astrology, there's some interesting things going out there. And I actually woke up this morning to run through my set and was dealing with so many computer issues and glitches. And I wanted to give you, I was hoping my computer was gonna just like magically just be okay. So I apologize for the little glitches. Today, my computer just woke up deciding to do that. So my apologies for interrupting maybe your experience with that. But anyway, thank you for listening. And if anyone's curious about the process, I'm hanging out for a little bit. I would love to talk to you more about what I'm doing in Woodstock. Maybe you're interested in coming out into nature with me and recording some sounds. Making a sound pack entirely from nature has completely transformed my artistic expression and has had such an impact on me in ways I had no idea. Eli, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your time here, everybody.
Thank you, Atropolis. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Party's going to continue in the atrium for the rest of the day, evening, until 10 p.m. with some amazing DJs. Want to send another big shout out to the Lot Radio for streaming and recording all of this. We'll definitely have an archive up. DJs for Climate Action. You can find out more about us. DJs, the number 4CA, DJs4CA.com. And continuing in this conversation, we're going to be partnering with Peace Boat on June 16th for World Oceans Day for an event on Peace Boat. And I'm also organizing a festival in upstate New York. I live actually not far from Adam on the other side of the Hudson River in the Hudson Valley, and I'm organizing a festival in the foothills of the Catskills in Oak Hill called Future Sound of Nature. That is the weekend closest to the summer solstice, June 21st to 23rd. And some of these folks will also be participating in that. It's all about creating a regenerative electronic music festival, just like we're trying to have these regenerative events for Earth Night, leaving the community and the land where it's taking place better than we found it. So that's what it's all about. How do we embody all this work? Thank you all again so much for coming. Thank you for Public Records for hosting us and generously donating to Earth Night and DJs for Climate Action, and to all of our partners, Nocturnal Medicine, Parties for Peace, Ableton, Pollen Plant Shop, and the Collective Bay. Thank y'all again. See you on the dance floor.